Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our awesome admins joining from all over the world. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to learn more about how you can take your organization to the next level and supercharge productivity with Lightning Console apps. My name is Leanne Reimel. I am your trusty admin evangelist, and if you're on the Twitters, you can find me at Leandroid. I'm thrilled to be joined today by our Director of Product, Xander Mittman. Xander, thank you so much for joining us today. So during our webinars, we may mention upcoming features and functionality that we have not yet released. So as always, please make all of your purchasing decisions regarding Salesforce based on currently available technologies and not any forward-looking statements. So Salesforce admins, as you may know, is a very social team. We love connecting with our awesome admin community. And you can find us on Twitter at Salesforce admins or with the hashtag awesomeadmin. If Twitter isn't your thing, we also share updates, webinars, and news on Facebook and LinkedIn. And all of our videos can be found at our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins. And that includes this one. This webinar will be recorded, as are all of our Salesforce Admins webinars. So if you want to rewatch this webinar, go through the demos that Xander's going to show again, want to share this with your fellow Trailblazers and awesome admins, this webinar will be recorded and slides will be posted to the page where you registered, and the recording will also be available on our YouTube channel. So make sure to direct your fellow awesome admins to this webinar so they can learn about consoles as well. So we love hearing from you throughout the course of the webinar. We know that you have questions, and we're going to be drilling into a lot of topics about how admins can help their users be more productive by taking advantage of Lightning Console apps. And that means that you may have some questions about features or information that we're covering, how you can implement these tools yourself. So our awesome admin team of experts will be answering questions on the Trailblazer community group, admin webinar group, that can be found at the bit.ly listed on the screen. And time provided, we will take some of the questions at the end of the webinar. We won't be leaving any question left behind, so if we don't get to your question during the live webinar, we will be following up on questions after we end the broadcast. So again, don't wait till the end to ask questions. Post a new comment in this admin webinar group with your question, and we will make sure to get to those questions and answer as many as we can on the webinar. So what can you expect over the next 25 minutes or so? We're going to be introducing Lightning Console apps and how you can get hands-on today with some of the key features available to you in your orgs. And of course, since this is an admin webinar, we're going to be spending time on how you can customize Lightning Console apps in your environment. And of course, important resources to learn more and continue working with console apps, and those questions that you're asking from our Trailblazer community group at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Xander, can you tell us more about what are Lightning Console apps and what should our admins do today to get hands-on?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Leanne. Simply put, Lightning Console apps are designed for speed. Today we'll go through the various benefits that console apps offer. Before we dive into the productivity benefits, it's important to know console apps are not just for Service Cloud. Many of you might not know this, but until about a year and a half ago, we charged for console apps, and they were only available to Enterprise Edition customers. Professional Edition customers never had access to console apps. Then we decided to give them away for free, and we simplified licensing. There's no need to add to each user. So we've given you a gift of massive value that is waiting to be realized. We hope all you admins will go check them out after today. You can find console apps in the app launcher, including the Lightning Sales Console app and Lightning Service Console app that we've included for you out of the box. Sales Cloud customers will see the Sales Console app, and service customers will see the Service Console app. And if you are a customer of both clouds, you'll see both. So let's talk about the benefits that your users can get with console apps. A console app is simply a type of Lightning app designed with productivity in mind. So if you have users that spend at least 30 minutes a day in Salesforce, console apps are for you. Today we'll be demoing the out-of-the-box Sales Console app, but you can make a custom console app from scratch in Setup's App Manager. One note for those of you still working with Classic, Lightning Console apps are only accessible in Lightning. So what makes a console app so useful? It's really all about efficiency. And here are some key benefits to using a console app. You can work with multiple records at once. You can organize your work by grouping relevant records and information, and you can get the job done with fewer clicks. And system speed. Page load time is minimal. So how does the console app navigation do that? So the first thing you'll notice If you look at that screenshot, when you look at a console app, are the multiple workspace tabs that open across the top under the search field. We'll do a demo shortly so you can see it in action, but basically a workspace is a container for various related subtabs. Each subtab contains a record or report that helps the user get her job done. We've learned that, probably like all of you, Salesforce users are working on multiple things at the same time. On the next slide, we'll go into console navigation split view for lists supporting this parallel working style. Each console app saves the user's workspaces and lists, so if the user is jumping back and forth between apps, it's always right where the user left it. So let's dive a little deeper on that, starting with working lists fast.
So Xander, this is huge for all of our admins out there who've wanted to get hands-on with more productivity tools, because previously, as you said, this is something that was really just for organizations that had purchased console as part of their sales cloud or purchased those extra licenses. So today they can get hands-on with those out-of-the-box sales and service consoles in their app launcher. I mean, that is huge for everyone on the line. They can start playing with these consoles today and exploring how their users can take advantage of these productivity tools.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've pre-built these apps so it's easy. There's no setup to start getting value and learning about console apps. And then if you want to tweak it or build your own from scratch, that's all supported in the product today. And really the idea for console apps germinated when we watched how people did their work. During our research, we repeatedly saw users open up a number of work items that would take them an hour or two to finish, clean it up, then repeat it with another batch. So for example, high velocity sales reps, this was typically a list of leads. For service agents, it was a list of cases. And before console apps, they were doing this by opening multiple browser tabs. I'm sure you're all familiar with doing this from your own work. But then the tabs don't relate to each other, and when you have that many browser tabs open, each tab is so small, you can't read it. Users couldn't find what they were looking for and got frustrated. And another word we heard repeatedly from users is that they like to keep their work tidy. I'm doing that in air quotes, I love that word. And the way people use browsers was not facilitating tidiness. Console apps are a better solution to both of these problems. It keeps all the information at the user's fingertips on a single browser tab. So typically, one workspace equals one job to be done, so to speak, like a sales opportunity or a customer case. And nesting related subtabs under a single workspace facilitates that desire for organization. So when the user clicks a link on a subtab, the console app automatically opens it as a new subtab within that workspace, keeping everything organized automatically. And then when the user has completed the job, for example, responding to the opportunity or closing the case, he can simply close the workspace with one click and move on to the next one. This saves a lot of time by simplifying what we call the cleanup process, where in the old way, the user had to click through each browser tab, determine if she had opened it to facilitate that job, then close them one at a time. Not the best use of someone's time. Another thing we learned by talking to users is that their personal job effectiveness is closely correlated with how fast they can work. For example, in a fast-paced sales environment, the sales rep who can get the first touch on new leads can claim them and close the business. That's good for that sales rep, for their personal job production and satisfaction. And when all sales reps are doing this, the company is more responsive to potential customers, and this can have a direct benefit on the bottom line. Therefore, Split View is built into the console app as a way to work through lists fast. In Split View, every time you click on the list, it opens up a new workspace. This helps the user create those batches of work that we just talked about. And in Table View, where the list fills the full screen width, you can use Command Click to open up workspaces while keeping the list visible. And on a Mac, that's Command Click. The demo will show how simple and intuitive this is. I know it sounds like a lot, but really the demo will show how really easy it is. And we've built another time-saving feature into workspaces that we call navigation rules. So again, with a focus on efficiency, we wanted to save the user clicks whenever possible. When we watched how users work, we saw they often opened related records so they could cross-reference them before the user had to do this manually, and again in separate browser tabs, or often even separate browser windows where you're all tabbing between them, and it's just not really an efficient workflow. So with navigation rules, console apps remove that bit of friction to make users more productive and increase the pace of business. Navigation rules use the inherent relationship between two records to let the admin configure which related record automatically opens when the user clicks the primary record. For example, as an admin, you can configure a console app to always open an opportunity as a sub-tab of an account. We'll show you how to configure that option soon in a demo. For now, let's move on to another time saver, the utility bar. The utility bar is, yeah, go ahead, Leanne.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, so with navigation rules, I mean, being able to that concept of sub-tabs and workspaces. Often, when we talk about console, the correlation that we often say is, instead of having all of your Chrome tabs open or your browser tabs open, you can have tabs open within the console, but it's even way more effective and productive than just shifting from using browser tabs, because this idea of the nested tabs, the sub-tabs, right, or when you finish one work item, you can close all of those related work items, is a huge time saver. I love the taking out that cleanup time. So it's really exciting for our users, and then being able to customize the navigation roles. And that's an opportunity for our admins out there to really look at how their users are working with records and then build an app around their needs, right? Customize those navigation roles around what are those records that they're opening most often in their processes. So really exciting for our admins and their users.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I can certainly empathize with this. My work as a product manager, I might be working on preparing for this webinar for part of the hour, and then switching to addressing a customer issue, and then working with my engineers on our current sprint. And I'll have lots of things open in tabs, and eventually I usually just get so frustrated that I just close all my browsers and start over. So we've sort of addressed that need for our users by building it into the product, where we help you stay organized. I actually wish I had something very similar like that in my own browsers. Okay, so let's talk about the utility bar. Again, all about productivity and efficiency. The utility bar is always there at the bottom of the screen. You can see it on the bottom left of the screenshot there, highlighted in red. If you're familiar with Classic, the utility bar replaces Classic's homepage, sidebar, and footer components. Now, this always puts useful tools within reach of the user. As the admin, you configure which apps show the utility bar and which buttons it includes. We see high usage of out-of-the-box utilities like notes, history, and macros. History is a killer app for getting back to a workspace you just closed. We'll go into macros and do a demo later on in this presentation. The utility bar also supports custom components you've developed in-house or have gotten from the App Exchange. When the user clicks on the button there on the utility bar, the utility pops up in a small panel on top of the console app, so it doesn't replace what the user was doing. And when you switch from one utility to another, it closes it. So you don't end up with windows on top of windows on top of windows. Just a nice tool that our users get a lot of value out of. Moving on to another productivity tool in the tool belt, let's talk about keyboard shortcuts. If any of you are Excel wizards, you know keyboard's your best friend. Once you know your way around with a keyboard, relying entirely on the mouse feels like going back to the caveman days. But we heard the same thing when talking to our customers. Many users are Salesforce veterans. They know the system, and they've honed their working style to get every last ounce of productivity out of their day. Keyboard shortcuts are a key tool in that. The keyboard shortcuts are available for all Lightning apps, and especially handy for console apps. So for example, you can go between workspaces and sub-tabs, then go back to the list, then the utility bar, all with your keyboard. You save all that time of switching your hands back and forth between your keyboard to the mouse. You can basically throw your mouse away with keyboard shortcuts. And as an admin, you don't need to do anything to enable keyboard shortcuts for your users. They're always on. And until they're second nature, you can learn the keyboard shortcuts by going to View Keyboard Shortcuts on the Help menu, or better yet, we built a keyboard shortcut for that, Control Flash. So before we switch to our first demo, we'll cover one more productivity powerhouse, which are macros. The macros will save users a ton of time on repetitive multi-action processes. We know users bring a lot of unique creativity to their jobs every day. We've also seen that there are some repetitive steps that are the same time and time again. So sometimes these processes are put in place by the company to make everyone work well together. Many users also develop their own personal processes to maximize their productivity, honing them over time, often sharing these tips and tricks with their team members. So those repetitive processes are valuable, yet they take up a lot of time, nibbling away at the potential for ultimate productivity. The users want to get that time back so they can spend it on creative efforts, right? I think we can all relate to that. That's why we develop macros. The macros are again available from the utility bar. Simply click a button for that macro and it performs a sequence of specified actions. So interestingly, many current console app users don't know about macros. We learned in a recent usability test, in fact, that about half weren't aware of this super powerful feature. And when we pointed it out to them and told them how it could improve their productivity, their eyes got huge. It's a huge time saver. And best of all, it's super simple to create a macro using the visual macro builder. We posted a video recently to show you how, and we'll see a macro in action shortly. So with that, let's go to our first demo. Leanne, anything you wanted to call out there before we move to that?
No, I think this is great. I think these are really great tools, especially I love talking about macros because, as you said, a lot of our users and admins are not aware of macros. And this is another area for these and keyboard shortcuts for our admins to, be leaders internally and help enable their users by driving visibility into these features so users can build their own macros, so users can get comfortable with keyboard shortcuts and really be the productivity champions in their orgs.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the Lightning Sales Console that you all have access to out of the box. You can open up your Salesforce instance today and see it. Again, you get here from the app launcher and click Lightning Sales Console. So here I'm looking at a list of my open opportunities in table view. That means going across the full screen. You'll see in a minute the difference between table view and split view. So let's say I'm an account executive working my opportunities. I've selected opportunities from the list up here. These are the navigation items. If you're using a standard navigation app, these are comparable to the tabs that you see across the top of standard navigation. But here you can switch between them. So let's say you want to switch to contacts, switch to accounts, and then switch back to opportunities. They all load here in the list view. Go back to my opportunities. So let's talk about workspaces and subtabs. So we talked about opening, so you open an opportunity, it automatically opens in a workspace. And then here's split view, so I can still see this list at the same time that I'm working each of my opportunities. So we talked about how we noticed that users open up batches of work. So for example, I can click a variety of these different opportunities and they open in separate workspaces. So it keeps everything organized, one opportunity at a time, between Acme, Burlington, and Global Media in this example. So I can complete this opportunity, do what I need to do, send them an email, log a call, look at the case notes, then move on to the next one and close them out as I go. And another thing is the performance here is really snappy. Because we are only loading just the information in the subtab, we're not reloading the whole page, everything is almost instantaneous, and especially switching back and forth between records within a subtab. So very fast. Again, it's all about productivity with console apps. And navigation rules, I can call that out specifically. So here, for example, this 3000 doodads opportunity, I know we all love doodads, so we have it configured to automatically open the account at the same time. So you can switch between information and see information about the account overall, see what other opportunities are open on the account, see if there are any cases, and then just switch back and forth. You can also talk about keyword controls here. So I'm using my cursor right now, or my arrow keys to switch back and forth between those subtabs. And I can also hit GW for go to workspace, and then I can switch back and forth between the workspaces. So keyboard shortcuts are very useful there. So we talked about how it can open up new subtabs within a workspace. So for example, if I go here and I want to see the account owner, it opens up all within that workspace. Now let's say I finish working that opportunity. I can just click Global Media, close that one, and then I'm back again to my tidy workspace, only seeing what I need to work on at one time, and just saving time with all those little pieces of friction that can slow down the user's ultimate potential productivity. And if I want to switch back to table view and see the full list, I can click that and use my command or control click to open new opportunities, and it will open as a workspace while keeping the full list view. Maybe I want to see all this information that some of it gets compressed in split view. Then I can go back and automatically go to split view. I can also collapse split view to see the full record in the full screen. So if you notice down here is the utility bar. So history pops up. It's great for getting back to past opportunities, jumping around. Pretty self-explanatory. You can clear it if you want to start fresh. And now we'll show the macro. So the other thing here is there's also keyboard shortcuts. So if I can get GU, that goes to the utility bar, and I can pull up my macros. So here I've created macros in the past for the processes that I do all the time. So let's say I want to show log call 1. So in this example, this opportunity is open in the background for 1200 widgets. Say this is a new opportunity. I just called them up. We talked a little bit about it, and I'm going to follow up with them next week. So before, I would have to click the log a call tab there, put in information about the call. Some of that's often repetitive, just saying, I'm going to log a call. I'm not going to put in all the details of the call. And then I want to stay organized, so I'm going to create a new task for myself to follow up a week later. That could take 2 to 5 minutes just doing that manually. With a macro, it takes just a matter of seconds. So I can click log call 1 here, click run macro, and it runs through each of those steps. And you can see it running in the background as if you were clicking all those buttons and typing all that information. So again, there's a demo that we posted, a video online that goes through all the details of how to create, edit, revise, and share macros with your users and your colleagues. And again, a very simple tool that our users absolutely love especially when we point it out to them. We hope they can discover it on their own, but sometimes they could use a little nudge. But once they see it, it's one of the things that they just can't live without. So all of these things together, between the workspaces and subtabs, split view, the navigation rules, utility bar, keyboard shortcuts, and macro, it's all about productivity with the Lightning Console app. Leanne, anything you want to call out while we're still on the demo?
Yeah, so that was an awesome demo. I think especially calling out macros and really that concept of having workspaces where you can have your navigation rules where you define what are those tabs that always should open as subtabs and start to create a workspace, but then also highlighting that as users are working with maybe additional records within that workspace, it still opens up within that workspace so that they can work in a clean environment. They can close it all once they're finished with that project or working with that customer. And I'm super excited to see what our customers do with macros. I think I love seeing macros and more ways for users to get efficiency from console apps and from Salesforce. So great demo. Super excited for our users to take advantage of this.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now I know.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I think that our admins on the line are probably really excited to see even more with how they can maybe customize these consoles and really make them fine-tuned for their users. So excited to continue learning about console apps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so let's shift gears and talk about how you as admins can configure your console apps. So we'll show you today, what it would look like to tweak the existing out-of-the-box Lightning Sales Console app. We hope that you'll see all the power and value in these console apps and go build yours from scratch for whatever custom apps or workflows you've developed at your company. But for now, we'll make it simple and talk about configuring the Sales Console app. So a couple things you can customize on the app are the utility bar, of course, the look and feel of the app branding, and the navigation rules. It's really easy to show in a demo, so let's just jump right to it.
Awesome. Yeah, this is going to be great because I think we've got these great out-of-the-box sales and service console apps that are available for everyone, but our admins love to customize and love to make the app really meet their users' needs. So excited to see how they can add an additional layer onto these sales console apps.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope you really take the opportunity to get to know your users well, let them know about Lightning Console apps, and then keep that iterative feedback process going on about what's working for them, what's not, what things could be made more efficient through console apps, and then continue revising it and editing it over time to make it intuitive. And so to manage these Lightning Console apps, go to Setup. And Lightning Console apps exist in the list with other apps. You can go to App Manager to see that list. We'll go down here to Lightning Sales Console and click Edit from that right drop down. So here we have the app details and branding, which is a great way to personalize it, put your company's style on it. So let's say we want to edit this a little bit, give a little personality. So let's say description, let's say work list fast. And we can change the image so it stands out. A little lightning theme in there. Maybe Twin Peaks fans. And change the color a little bit. So this is what it will look like in the App Launcher preview. Click Save, move on to the next one. Again, this is just a little, something to make it more personal and more applicable to your company. And I should call out, when you're creating a new Lightning console app from scratch, you're presented with these options and more of a wizard step-by-step option, but you can always go back to these and edit them over time. But same feature, same interface. I should say, with the exception of app options. So app navigation, when you're going through the new app creation flow, this is the forking point between a standard navigation and a console navigation. So once you set it up as a console app, it's always a console app. That's one thing you can change after the fact. I don't think we called this out explicitly, but there's no reason that your sales users can't have access to both a Lightning sales app and a standard navigation sales app, and just use both and switch back and forth between them and see which one works for their style better. So you can really have a bake-off between the both and prove that it's giving them the value that they're expecting out of the console navigation. So moving down to the utility bar, so these are the ones that we saw where you can customize it. Let's say we talked to our users and they want to see reports. So I can add a report chart here and set it up to show my deals. Click save, and I'll show you what that looks like when we go back to the app. And a couple of final items. You can select the items that appear in that navigation dropdown to switch back. Again, these would be like tabs in standard navigation, and you can edit those here. Navigation rules. So let's say you want to change it, and let's say you're hearing from your users that for most time they open a contact and they don't want to open it as an account. Maybe it's just additional overhead that doesn't make sense for that one in particular. You can set it up just to open as a workspace tab, or as one of those other options that we saw in that list. And click save. And that's really all there is to it. And the user profiles, we're not going to change those. So now we can just jump right back to the app and see what it looks like. So here we see the new icon and description. Click Lightning Sales Console. We switched the navigation rules for our contact. So now instead of opening an account, we'll just open John Amos as a workspace on its own. And we added the report chart here, so you can see my deals and see your funnel, and that helps you stay organized and think about how you want to prioritize your time for the day. So those are some of the powerful features and how you can customize console apps for your organization. I'd love to take some questions if you have anything else to add, Leanne.
Awesome. Great demo, Xander. I think our admins out there are going to be excited to ensure that their users are using Lightning console apps and also really make them their own, right? So we've given you that out of the box kind of standard Lightning sales console, and you can use those tools that Xander just highlighted to fine tune that and fine tune those navigation rules and the look and feel of that console app, and also what is in the utility bar to make sure that it's got everything your users need. So we do have more resources available for you to continue learning about console apps and navigation rules and macros. If you jump into the release notes from our most recent release, there's a lot of great info there around macros and console apps, and specifically how to set up navigation rules. And we also have our bit.ly for the macros demo video. We will share this in the Trailblazer community group as well, but we got a lot of requests. Xander, everyone's really excited already to see that macros demo video. So you can find that at bit.ly/Salesforce macros. And you can jump into Trailhead and learn and earn more about console components and how to work with console apps with the Service Console Components badge. Now, we do love hearing from you, so definitely make sure at the end of the webinar to complete the survey that's going to show up in the GoToWebinar app. And also, you can find all the information for this webinar at the URL where you registered. We are going to take a few questions as well. We have a lot of questions, so we probably won't be able to get to all of them. I promise we'll get to them in the group as well. But one of the console questions that we have is about availability. So if we have users that are on platform licenses and community licenses, who has access? How do we look at who has access to console apps in Salesforce?
That's a good question, and honestly, I'll have to look into that to make sure I give an accurate answer. So let me follow up on that, and I'll put that on the post.
Okay, awesome. So we'll post more information about that on the group. With in general, as you're working with consoles, if the users do need to have access to the objects that are included in those consoles. So if a platform user doesn't have access to the core Sales Cloud records or objects, then they wouldn't be able to get a lot of value from maybe the sales console if they're not working with sales objects, but you can also build custom consoles as well. There is...
I was going to say, I know you can create them in the developer edition if you just want to play around with it. But in terms of in your production org, I'll need to check on that.
So we do have a question around console navigation rules, which you just showed. So the question is, I've been confused by the console navigation rules as they relate to custom objects, because it seems like sometimes a custom object opens as a sub-tab in a related record workspace, but sometimes the same custom object will open in its own workspace. Is there any insight as to why someone might see different behaviors for opening behaviors?
The navigation rules follow the lookup relationship that's defined between different objects, and it shouldn't be any different. It's not any different for custom objects versus standard objects. Some of that I might need to know the particulars of the situation to talk about why it's doing one thing versus another. But so maybe I can follow up with that admin and find out what's going on and clarify.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe in the group we can kind of get more information on that. I think definitely if you're starting to play with service or sales console apps, the ones that are out of the box, I would recommend if you want more clarity around what the opening behavior should be, I think a good first place to go is going to be into that edit console or edit app page and setup where Xander just was, to look at what are the navigation rules and how are they defined there, and then go through and kind of test in your org and in your app and see if there's any specific behavior that's different from those navigation rules. But I would go into your console app first and look at the navigation rules as they are, and then you can look at kind of how, if there is any deviation from what's expected.
And I thought of one thing that might be happening is, for example, if I have multiple opportunities under one account, if I click opportunities from the same account in the split view, it will open both those opportunities under the same workspace, because we have it optimized to open up only one workspace per that top level or the lookup relationship on the navigation rules. So that could also be it. So it might depend on whether you already have a workspace open for that parent item.
Great. So one last question here. So we did have a question about, can we use the console from one of our customers who's still in Classic? Can we use the console by toggling to Lightning? And if you have Lightning enabled and you switch to Lightning Experience, you should have access to console apps in the Lightning app launcher. Is that?
Yes, that's correct. There's nothing special needed to use Lightning console apps today. Switch to Lightning and they're there out of the box.
Yeah, so if you're still in the process, if you are still in Classic, it's still a great time to, especially if you're an admin, to enable Lightning for yourself with turning it on with permission sets, or to use your sandbox for this, and to kind of get hands-on and get comfortable with these consoles and see how you can customize them for your sales users just by switching to Lightning as a user. Well, great. It looks like we did go a few minutes over, but we had some great questions. Thank you so much for the wonderful demos and insight onto Lightning console apps, Xander. Again, everyone on the line, please, we love to hear from you. We love your feedback. It helps us create these webinars and make sure that they're meaningful for you. So as you're closing your GoToWebinar screen today, please fill out the survey that'll pop up, the survey for this webinar, so that we can continue to make these as meaningful as possible. So again, thank you, Xander. Thank you everyone on the line for joining, and we will see you next time.